A serious and good philosophical work could be written consisting entirely of jokes. What is your aim in philosophy? To show the fly the way out of the fly bottle. The difficulty in philosophy is to say no more than we know. Philosophy is not a theory but an activity. Sometimes, in doing philosophy, one just wants to utter an inarticulate sound. The object of philosophy is the logical clarification of thought. Philosophy limits the thinkable and therefore the unthinkable. The sole remaining task for philosophy is the analysis of language. Philosophy is a battle against the bewitchment of our intelligence by means of language. I think I summed up my attitude to philosophy when I said, philosophy ought really to be written only as a poetic composition. Philosophy unravels the knots in our thinking, hence its results must be simple, but its activity is as complicated as the knots that it unravels. Philosophy, as we use the word, is a fight against the fascination which forms of expression exert upon us. It is one of the chief skills of the philosopher not to occupy himself with questions which do not concern him. The philosopher strives to find the liberating word, that is, the word that finally permits us to grasp what up to now has intangibly weighed down upon our consciousness. Philosophy may in no way interfere with the actual use of language. It can in the end only describe it. Philosophy just puts everything before us, and neither explains nor deduces anything. Since everything lies open to view, there is nothing to explain. I'm doing philosophy like an old woman. First I'm looking for my pencil, then I'm looking for my glasses, then I'm looking for my pencil again. A good guide will take you through the more important streets more often than he takes you down side streets. A bad guide will do the opposite. In philosophy, I'm a rather bad guide. In philosophy, it is always good to put a question instead of an answer to a question. For an answer to the philosophical question may easily be unfair. Disposing of it by means of another question is not. The real discovery is the one which enables me to stop doing philosophy when I want to. The one that gives philosophy peace, so that it is no longer tormented by questions which bring itself into question. Philosophy is not a body of doctrine but an activity. Without philosophy, thoughts are, as it were, cloudy and indistinct. Its task is to make them clear and to give them sharp boundaries. Russell's books should be bound in two colors, those dealing with mathematical logic in red, and all students of philosophy should read them, those dealing with ethics and politics in blue, and no one should be allowed to read them. Philosophical problems can be compared to locks on safes, which can be opened by dialing a certain word or number, so that no force can open the door until just this word has been hit upon, and once it is hit upon, any child can open it. All philosophy is a critique of language, though not in Mauthner's sense. It was Russell who performed the service of showing that the apparent logical form of a proposition need not be its real one. Philosophy can be said to consist of three activities: to see the common sense answer, to get yourself so deeply into the problem that the common sense answer is unbearable, and to get from that situation back to the common sense answer. I am sitting with a philosopher in the garden. He says again and again, I know that that's a tree, pointing to a tree that is near us. Someone else arrives and hears this, and I tell him, this fellow isn't insane. We are only doing philosophy. There is a truth in Schopenhauer's view that philosophy is an organism, and that a book on philosophy, with a beginning and end, is a sort of contradiction. In philosophy, matters are not simple enough for us to say, let's get a rough idea, for we do not know the country except by knowing the connections between the roads. Philosophy hasn't made any progress. If somebody scratches the spot where he has an itch, do we have to see some progress? Isn't genuine scratching otherwise, or genuine itching? And can't this reaction to an irritation continue in the same way for a long time before a cure for the itching is discovered? Philosophy aims at the logical clarification of thoughts. Philosophy is not a body of doctrine but an activity. A philosophical work consists essentially of elucidations. Philosophy does not result in philosophical propositions, but rather in the clarification of propositions. Without philosophy, thoughts are, as it were, cloudy and indistinct. Its task is to make them clear and to give them sharp boundaries.